when people can get behind a product, not only taste it and love the product, but buy into the story and really support the mission, I think that that's what, again, that's what creates this like brag-worthy brand culture. This is what makes people want to select that thing over the competitor. I don't know who
Yeah.
owns Truly. I don't know who owns White Claw. Like, I'm not connected to that story in any way, but yeah, you're right. Like
Right.
having that educational storytelling and then also just sharing about the why, I think is a great way to get people connected to the brand.
Kiss my aesthetics, branding, marketing, entrepreneurship.
Greetings and welcome back to the Kiss My Aesthetic podcast. You've seen the stuff. You've seen Avenue 8 on our socials, and we have Miss Avenue 8 herself, Tiffany Jones, on the podcast today. Welcome, Tiffany.
Hi, how are you?
Oh my gosh, this is going to be such a great episode and such a great recap of everything that we've been able to do since really getting in contact with each other last June. But for anyone who doesn't know you yet, can you tell us who you are, what you do, and why you wanted to start Avenue 8?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm Tiffany Jones and I'm from Dallas, and I accidentally started Avenue 8, to be completely honest. It sort of goes back to the fall of 2023. We were at our last parents' weekend, and after 8 years of all of these, parent parties and being offered all of these like canned cocktails, not seltzers and all this stuff in a can. And I thought they were just so disgusting. And I was like, I'm not going to drink that. Like, why is there nothing better to drink in a can? And so I was talking to my husband. He's like, why don't you do that? And I was like, why would I do that? I don't have any idea how to do that. And then it was really sort of intriguing. So I started doing a whole bunch of research, and the things that I found were really unsettling, to be quite honest. And predominantly all of the brands, I mean, there's dozens and dozens of canned drink brands on the market, but they're honestly owned by the same 5 or 6 conglomerates. And all of those conglomerates are run by men, and all of the men are doing the formulating and the marketing. And there's only 8% of women who work in the alcohol industry. So
Wild.
I was just like, I'm going to keep researching. And here we are.
And here we are. Oh my gosh, what a path. But before Avenue 8, you had a whole career, life, everything beforehand, if you can believe that. Talk to us a little bit about what you were doing before starting this business and kind of how you bring that into what Avenue 8 has become.
Okay. So for probably 20 plus years, I've been a high-end residential interior designer and a mom of 2 girls. And it was my passion for such a long time, and I loved every day of it. But when COVID hit and all of the supply chain issues and all of the things that we all know, I just didn't find joy in it anymore. And I didn't enjoy the projects. And I was just like, it's time to do something else. And never in a million years did I think this is what it would be. But the really fun part of sort of marrying the two together, the interior design and the cocktails, is that I think I've brought a different design eye to the packaging, which you have helped me, create. So we look like nothing else on the market.
Yes. Oh, and I've gotten that feedback like 10 times over since showing like friends and family the packaging. But really, the first kind of step of us working together was branding. So it's 2023. You're figuring out, okay, maybe I want to start this business. You're doing all the research. You're noticing this gap in the market. And then you're like, how does this start to come together? I'm so glad I recorded our first discovery call because you had so much energy and so much passion for what you were doing, which is such like a ding, ding, ding for our team because we're like, yes, okay. Well, you had me fired up at the end of the call. Talk to me about what you know about branding prior to working with us. Like how much knowledge did you have, even with the interior design side, of like the impact of branding and why it was important for you to pursue that before getting going on really kind of anything else?
Yeah, well, funny enough, my undergraduate degree is in advertising.
Okay,
so I've known about branding, and it's been a part of watching brands grow and watching commercials and advertisements and all the things for many, many, many years. And it's just something that I've always really found fascinating.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So then you're like, okay, we've got the process. So the research, at what point do you start doing formulations? Because you had that pretty locked in pretty quickly.
I guess we started the research part, October of 2023. And by sort of Christmas time, when my girls were home for the holidays, we had started marinating fruits and herbs and things in little like canning jars in the kitchen, trying to figure out sort of like where do you start? What flavors do you start with, and like what is the starting point? And then so from there, once we sort of narrowed down a handful of flavors, I started interviewing female master mixologists, female master distillers across the country, anybody that I could talk to sort of understand how these recipes, I guess, if you will, sort of come together. And then we finally picked a formulation partner with an all-female formulation team and off to the races. But I think it probably took between the 3 flavors, 17 or 18 different variations until we actually got where we wanted.
Oh my gosh. And you had such great research and foundation on that, right? You were doing taste testing. I've seen the photos, the behind the scenes stuff when I remember being on that discovery call and you're like, yep, we've got our formulations and they are perfect, which is music to my ears as brand designer, because I'm like, okay, you did all the hard work. Now I just got to make it look pretty. Like I got to make it match. But knowing that there was this gap in the market, what are some of the call outs of Avenue 8 that make it something truly different than the competitors?
Well, let's start with it's made by women for women. Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, there aren't very many women who work in the alcohol industry. And so the current companies aren't thinking about the female consumer and how one of the things that I thought was really interesting in my research is that men have 30% less taste buds than women. And so here they are formulating all of these things, but their bodies process sweet differently and sugar differently and carbonation differently. And so that was really eye-opening to me as to why so many of them taste the way they do. So now I've forgotten your question.
No, the kind of the call outs, the things that you're like, okay, so we learned this fact about the taste buds. Then you're realizing, okay, this makes sense why I don't like anything that's on the market. So when you're thinking about creating Avenue 8, what are the things that stick out to you? It's like, it has to be this.
And so we were really intentional about the high level of ingredients that we were using. Part of the research showed that, and you probably know this as a consumer, there's not much disclosure on any of these cans from an ingredient perspective. And there's a reason for that. If they told you what was in it, you would not be drinking it. If they really put how many calories were on it, you would not be drinking it. And so one of the brand tenets from the very beginning was that we wanted label transparency and we wanted you to know, to be as informed as a consumer as you possibly could. So we've got the grapes of sugar and we've got the really clean ingredients. And another differentiating point is we don't use any junk. There's no added sugars, there's no artificial sweeteners, and there's no preservatives, which is really close to unheard of in the market.
Well, and it makes it a premium product, right? Because if you do know that all these competitors are cutting corners, like the reason to add preservatives and artificial colors and artificial flavors and sweeteners in it is for what? To make it just a more attractive beverage? Like what was the reason for putting all that stuff in the first place if it's the junk that we don't want to consume?
Right. Because it makes it so much cheaper for them to produce. And makes them have a higher margin. I mean, when you think about the fact that they're selling, most of these conglomerates are selling 4-packs of 12-ounce cans, which we are as well, but they're selling theirs for $10.99, $12.99. And we're selling ours for much more than that because we are a much better product. Sure. We are not a seltzer. We are a premium cocktail brand.
Totally. You also had a very important asterisk on the product, which was you wanted it to be lightly sparkling. You talked about this with kind of the male taste buds, right? Being acclimated to even carbonation differently. This is something I would have never considered. But what did it mean to you to be lightly sparkling?
Well, one of the things we found in our research, we did a research panel of like 750 women as part of our research project before we actually started. And the carbonation level in all of these drinks, including beer, was way too high. And it was a really big complaint. But you've probably noticed there have been some new entrants in the market that are completely flat and they really tout, no carbonation. And we found in our research that wasn't always wildly appealing either. And so we wanted it to have literally just enough to pressurize the can, which you sort of have to do, and just to make that little like sound when you click the can open, but that you didn't feel it in your body as you were drinking it. And you could drink 2 or 3 or 4,
if you're going crazy. They're 8%, so take it easy.
Yeah, exactly. Responsibly drinking, but it wouldn't feel weighted on your body and you wouldn't feel bloated in the process.
Just in the same way that you go to a beautiful cocktail lounge and you have a beautiful cocktail, like, you're not, it's potent enough that you're not slamming back so many, but you also don't want that like heavy feeling in your stomach because maybe you want to go have a nice meal or be able to enjoy the rest of your evening.
Exactly.
So all of that makes so much sense.
And one of the things we also found in our research, which makes us different than a lot of people on the market, is we are at an 8% ABV. And most canned cocktails are at like a 4.5 or 5%, and beer is usually a 4.5 or 5. But a glass of wine can be 14 or 15 or 17. And so we feel like we've really found this sweet spot to sort of be in between. I don't want to have a glass of wine, but I want to have a little more than a beer. And so it's really been a sweet spot for us.
Ooh, love it. And then we get to talk about my favorite part, which is the branding. So at what point you're like, you've gotten your formulations. I think we talked June of last year. You had told me by April, you had all your formulas locked in. And one of the things you said to me off the bat was like, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it right. Yeah. How did you adopt that mindset? Is that something you learned from your interior design days? Like, obviously you've got this advertising background. What kind of pushed you into the like, and who did you talk to even of like, how can we start to bring this thing to life?
Well, it's probably, to be completely honest, my type A personality. But yes, I mean, interior design is all about, right, getting the details right. And so that I do think that I brought that into this project. And it really, it's so many steps, Michelle. It really just, and there are days and it was like so crazy overwhelming. You just have to put one foot in front of the other and tackle it one design element at a time. And so I think you've done a really great job.
And I know we got connected actually through the PR company that you're working with. So typically when we're working with clients, PR is something that usually comes after branding, how we typically see it. But again, you're kind of taking this circuitous route to getting this whole thing launched. How did your relationship start with the PR company? And how do you feel like that helped you in the early days of the business to get it to where it's at?
Well, when we decided we were going to do this, and again, do it right, and because there were so few women in the alcohol industry, we decided we were only going to hire badass women from the very beginning. And we haven't been able to do that fully across the board because there aren't
sometimes
any women owning
exist.
any. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't exist. But where we could, we have only hired women. And I just really knew that because we were going to launch in Texas and start in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there was only one badass PR firm in Dallas, female driven, that I wanted to work with. And so while in other areas where I interviewed multiple women across the country looking for the right fit, I knew from the beginning they were the right fit. And so from a creative perspective, I had interviewed 6 or 7, maybe even 8 different companies, and I just hadn't found the right fit. And so I asked the PR team, I'm like, anybody you would recommend? And here you are. And it was perfect.
I know. How crazy is that? And so my connection then is so funny because I had never even met Suzanne by the time she referred us, which is lovely.
Yeah.
Which is still also so funny. But we had actually worked with the same PR group through Hotel Lobby Candle. And that really, like, we talk about this as being like our unicorn child project because Lindsay's is so smart with it. And I learned so much working with them for 4 years of like what it means to tease and to launch and to have packaging that connects with people. And we had such a great working relationship. So it was so rewarding to see that was recognized from someone that I hadn't even interfaced with to the point that they recommended us to work with you. It was like such a beautiful moment.
Yeah, the perfect fit all the way around.
Totally. So you had landed on the name. That was prior to working with us. Did that help come through the PR company? Did they help you get to Avenue 8? Or where did this idea, the spark come from?
Well, the very first thing we hired after our female legal team was we hired a really great brand strategist. And we worked with her for probably 3 months to sort of distill. I knew what I wanted the product to be, and I knew who the target market was. And I knew where I wanted to be in the end, but I needed some distilling down in the middle. And so we really sort of worked with her. And we just I didn't know, the name wasn't coming to me. Like I thought one day I would wake up and it would be like, oh, this is what it's going to be. But that didn't happen. And so she was working on some names and they weren't really like clicking with me either. And we were in a discussion and she's like, okay, well, we'll go down that avenue next. And I was like, the avenue, that's it. It's the avenue. And then, so we worked on that for a little bit. And I knew from the beginning, it would have some sort of number in it. Yeah. I don't know why, but it just felt like the right thing to do. But I couldn't get what the number was, right? Like it was an old address. Was it a birthday? Was it, a favorite number? Like what was it? And it wasn't coming together. And then again, it was like all of a sudden this like aha moment. And so the number 8 comes from, we started really the project in 2024, kicking off. And so if you add up the number of the year, 2024,
2,
till you
2,
get
and
to a
4.
single number, it's 8. And
Oh,
then the favorite numbers of all 4 of us in our family, if you add those up till you get to a single number, it happened to be 8. And then
funny.
we'd been to 8 parents' weekends by the time I was like, I've had enough of this. And so it just kind of kept coming. I mean, it was weird. It just sort of kept circling back around. I'm like, that's it, Avenue 8.
Avenue 8. What I love about the name is it kind of gives you a sense of like a fictitious, but also luxurious, a little bit of a French inspired world that we're building.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how the aesthetics, like you said, you're trying to find land on the name, but how did the picture in your mind, knowing the ideal client and knowing the quality of the product, what did this world even look like in your head?
Well, that's funny that you brought up French because I did think about France a lot. I'm a super
Yeah.
big Francophile and I love French packaging. I love how
Mm-hmm.
crisp and clean and just luxurious it is. And
Mm-hmm.
so I knew that I wanted the packaging to sort of go in that direction, even though I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't quite see yet what it looked like. But I wanted it to feel not like a box of canned cocktails. I wanted it to feel
Sure.
like a gift. I wanted it to
Sure.
feel like a present. And I think we've really achieved that.
Oh, completely, completely. And that's been a big mission for a lot of the stuff that I work on is to create packaging that feels like special, it feels intentional, it feels like a moment. Because I think
Yeah.
I'm also of the generation of millennials that we all like when you get a new iPhone, like you still save the box because the box feels like too nice to throw away. And that there's
Well, I'm
something interesting
your
about
age,
that.
and I still see the box. So,
Right? You're just like, why am I holding on to this? Like it served its function of packaging my phone, but there's something about the quality of the tactile feeling of that. And there's so many design decisions that made it so that it feels, again, it doesn't feel like garbage. But I learned a lot of that with Hotel Lobby Candle as well. It's like, how do we
yeah,
create packaging that you don't have to gift wrap? And I think about that
exactly.
too. I credit my mom to that, also an interior designer, but I was one of 5 girls. I still am one of 5 girls.
Yeah.
But growing up, because there were so many kids in my family, we had a gift cupboard. I don't know if you had this growing up,
Oh, yeah.
where you just shove it full of all the stuff. And when you have to go to a birthday party or a housewarming or whatever, like you consult the gift cupboard first and then you bring whatever that thing is to the party. And I think of Avenue 8 and Hotel Abbey Candle as both gifts that I would stock in my gift cupboard of like, how can I make this so I could show up somewhere and it would be beautiful? As you've heard me say time and time again on this podcast, what worked in 2024 for social media management is not the same as what's going to cut it in 2025. Platforms are shifting, algorithms are chaotic, and keeping up feels like playing whack-a-mole in the wild, wild west. That's exactly why we made our 2025 social media webinar. This is the deck that we actually sent to our clients. It's 65 slides long. And in the 45-minute webinar, I basically walk you through all the platforms, who owns them, their involvement with the current political administration, what are the pros and cons of each platform, what content performs best, as well as what our team would need for strategy, content creation, and posting and engagement to run the strategy on behalf of your brand. So whether you're a small business owner looking to work with us, or you're also a social media manager or creative just trying to get a better grip of the social media landscape, this is a resource you're going to want to take advantage of. You want to head to our website, mkwcreativeco.com/resources. So mkwcreative.co/resources. This is the 2025 social media webinar. And just for you, I included the one-pager reference guide that we've also sent to our clients to really give you the full menu of options in one big flash sheet. So take advantage of it or hit the link in the show notes to get access to our 2025 social media webinar because it is wild out there and you shouldn't have to figure it out by yourself. Good luck. Enjoy. So tell me some of the things were important to you on the packaging that make it feel like a gift.
Well, I think you really hit the nail on the head when you added the ribbon,
Yeah.
the Grove Rain ribbon, to the packaging. That was, I know we sort of messed around with that a little bit, but I
Mm-hmm.
think when we finally put that on there, that was like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks, I'm looking at all the boxes in
Yeah.
there and they're just so beautiful. I think it really makes it look
Yeah.
lovely and elevated and sophisticated in a manner that nothing else on the shelf does.
Yeah.
And it also makes it, I think, look more feminine, which is again what we were trying to do and appeal to the female, a sophisticated female consumer.
That's the pull in, absolutely, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's got to. You had also mentioned really early in the process, it's like you get one chance to make that first impression, and if
Yep.
we're lined up on the shelf next to a High Noon, next to a Cutwater Spirits or a Truly or a White Claw, like how do we make ourselves look look different. And something that people have pointed out to me is like that blue, that French blue is like so connected to the brand story now. And I think the other thing we did with the packaging is we don't actually use like photography of the fruits on the front, but instead went for more of like an illustrated, softer, more just kind of like refined style than just being like
sophisticated,
strawberry, lemon.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
No, it's super sophisticated. And, and I think the fact that we don't have, the clutter that exists in this category is just, no wonder the consumer doesn't know what to do when they get to the shelf, right? Because it's just so junky looking and it's just so cheap. And this just says you're invited. Come and try us.
And that's going to happen throughout kind of this unboxing experience, right? So like you have the beautiful box, you're opening the box, says you're invited on the top. The interior, we have this like really beautiful pattern. I love that you're a maximalist and you let me go like pattern crazy because it's so satisfying. But the can itself too, like the label, I feel like really doesn't look like any other labels that are out there.
No, I completely agree. I have to go back to the box though for a hot second.
Please.
Thank you for pushing me.
Oh my gosh, of course.
On the inside, because I was like, I love it, but it's too much. And you were like, it's not too much. And that was absolutely the right call. Yeah. So and back to your point with the can. I'm looking at a whole collection of cans here of our competitors, and only one would I probably pick up based on the can. They're just not sophisticated.
And we wanted to look, the whole conversation we had during the process was we want the can and the box to look like the experience of drinking the cocktail. It is elevated. Exactly. It is nice. You are pouring it into a beautiful coupe glass or you're drinking it from the can, but how do we make something like drinking from a can a luxury experience when that doesn't really exist? Like something you wouldn't be embarrassed.
Exactly.
Right. And to put yourself back in the context of the origin of the idea is like, how do you grab something from a cooler as a parent at parent weekend and not feel like you're one of the frat bros, right? Like, but you feel like, oh, I'm drinking an adult drink for adults. And I loved that concept.
Yeah. And my grandmother has actually been in the back of my head as we have done this because, she said to me and my sister, always pour it out of the can. Never drink out of the can.
So
like
funny.
that was, and I keep pop back in and out, and I'm like, she'd like this can. She'd think it was right. She would drink out of this can. So yeah,
right. Well, you got to actually see people drink out of the can in person during your launch party last month. Talk to us about the launch party. What did it feel like to actually see the manifestation of all of your years of hard work for people to enjoy?
It was a little bit surreal. I'm not going to lie. Yeah? I love to entertain and host people anyway. That's just part of my design, background. But to see people that you don't even know that like have shown up to drink and try your beverages, it's a little bit of a out of body experience almost, right? Like, because you're like, these people don't even know me. Like they didn't have to come. They're not related to me. Like, and then to hear them talking about how much they appreciated the product and how much they really enjoyed what was in the can and enjoyed the label transparency. I was like,
we're on to something.
It felt really good, actually.
So talk us through vision. So from here, you've got the launch party, you're kicking things off on social, the e-commerce is now available. What are you learning? What's the plan? Where can people find it? Like, give us the kind of best case scenario for the next long as Avenue 8 exists, really.
Yeah. Well, the next really big step is getting a distributor. So we're working on that because we can't do anything else until, sadly, because of all these laws, we can't do anything else. But you can find us direct to consumer online at drinkavenue8.com. And that is going very, very, very well. I couldn't be more pleased with the buzz that we seem to have, no pun intended, the buzz we seem to have generated. And people really, really love it. We also have a non-alcoholic version that has been in the works because if we're going to be true to making drinks for women by women, as you know, there are times in our lives where you don't want to drink or you can't drink or it's nobody's business if you're drinking or not drinking, but you still want to be part of the experience and the party. And so we are replicating our same 3 flavors in a non-alcoholic version. So hopefully those will be on shelf like by the end of 2025, which is really great. So we'll move forward in those 2 paths. And then we're just looking forward to, doing as many taste testings as we possibly can, because once people taste it, they seem to really love it. And
right. And I think that's what's so interesting now, where like design plays such a big role in this, right? It's similar to what we dealt with Hotel Abbey Candle and with some of our other clients. Is like, how do you sell something to a person that cannot experience it until they physically have it in their hand? So similar to candles, right? Like you can read a scent description all day long, but if you can't smell it, how are you going to know that you want to buy it for $58? It's similar to your business, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly. And when so many of the things on the market are junk and people have a predisposed idea of how they're going to taste, that they're going to have a funny aftertaste or they're just going to be too carbonated or whatever. I mean, really, it's like, in the business, it's called liquid to lips, and it's getting as many people to taste it as possible. And then hopefully, as we sell more and more, people will leave lovely reviews and they'll trust us to deliver on the actual promises that we say we're going to provide.
Yeah. One of the points I want to touch on too, which we didn't get to talk about yet, is the advantage of having this relationship with the PR company that you're working with has also been seeding the product with the right type of people, right? So creating a really beautiful unboxing experience, creating a really beautiful PR kit to send out. It sounds like you knew that was one of your goals from the get-go. Talk to me a little bit about how that's worked for just kind of catapult your brand into the conversation versus waiting for people to come to you.
Right, exactly. Well, let's start with the PR box because it could not be more gorgeous. I mean, it just... You just really killed it on that. It could not be more gorgeous. And people get it and are just like, oh my God, like I've never, we've never received anything like this. Right. And I think, you and I had a really good conversation when we were planning it, because we initially started with, we're just going to put one can of each one in the box. And you said, let's make it a party, let's have them invite there, because we want to be such a community brand. Let's put enough in there so that they invite their friends. And that has really been an amazing return.
Good.
It's heavy as hell to mail and ship, but it's
it's strategic. But there's a strategy there of like, I think what we've done with Avenue 8 that's so interesting to me is we've treated it like a lifestyle company that happens to be beverage instead of a beverage company, and trying to like over engineer the lifestyle around it. Is we're sending these to people that exhibit the kind of lifestyle of the type of person that would want this on their bar cart, that would want to bring this to a bridal shower, for example, right? So if we can kind of reverse engineer it and be like, what's the instance in which someone's entertaining around this idea, and like give people a reason to pull people together. I think these are the hostess types. You know what I mean? Like these are the people that love a party, that love to share things that they've got. And I think so much in the influencer industry, when you do send less product in a huge mailer, like that mailer gets thrown away. So how do you create something that has a more lasting impression, more lasting impact? I think we accomplished that really well with this one. Granted, we probably won't do it for forever because, as you mentioned, they're heavy as heck and they're big old boxes to drop off. But for that first splash on the scene, I think this was the right move.
100%. And, and I think there, to go back to the one we originally started with a single can, I think there is an opportunity for some micro seeding with that, as well. But to really, really make a bang coming out of the gate, I think we really killed it.
And it's generous, and generosity is reciprocal, right? So like when you give people a lot of like, hey, I'm so proud of this, I want to share it with you, they then want to share it with other people. And then those people want to come back around and buy it from you. So there's like, that's just good karma into the universe, I think. So like being able to lead with that and lead with that empathy and lead with that inclusion of everybody, I think it was totally the right move. It's so aligned with what you're trying to do.
Yeah. It's really great. And funny enough, I've gotten a couple of messages, not a couple, more than a couple of messages through Instagram, and then randomly some emails. Would I sponsor a bachelorette party? And would I,
there you go.
Oh my gosh, my friend was at your launch party. How do I get my hands on it? And so it is creating talk and buzz in the community. And that's what we want, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's the stuff too, that when people can get behind a product, not only taste it and love the product, but buy into the story and really support the mission. I think that's what creates this like brag-worthy brand culture. This is what makes people want to select that thing over the competitor. I don't know who owns Truly. I don't know who owns White Claw. Like I'm not connected to that story in any way, but yeah, you're right. Like having that educational storytelling and then also just sharing about the why, I think is a great way to get people connected to the brand.
Yeah, the education is a really big, important piece in this category because we want to empower the consumer. I mean, people want to be living a healthier lifestyle. And if you're going to be drinking, it doesn't get any cleaner than this. I mean, with all of our organic ingredients, and, we just we really wanted to capitalize a little bit on the health movement too, and empower the consumer to make the right decision for themselves and to absolutely know everything that's in it.
I gave a can of strawberry lemonade yesterday to a friend of mine who works for a cocktail company here in San Diego, and they put on like private events and things like this. And we were in a leadership group together, and we went to a happy hour, and I was like, hey, I have one for you. And I gave her, she's like, wow, okay, clean ingredients. Okay. She's like reading the can, whatever. She took it home. She drank it. She texted me. She's like, holy smokes, this is good. She's like, the fact that they pulled this off and were able to get it canned and still taste the way that it does, being this clean, is like quite an achievement. So that was very exciting, but also exciting. You submitted for some awards and you won one. Hello. Can we talk about that? Yeah. I mean, we together won together, because without me, it's and without you in the project, then it doesn't exist. So tell us about that.
It was for a packaging award. And I had literally gotten this email, and I was cleaning out my emails, and it said, last day to submit. And I was like, okay. I mean, all I sent them were the mock-up images. Like we didn't, like it was so long ago, I didn't even have a photograph of it.
Right.
Like it hadn't printed. We hadn't no. And they were like, oh, you just need to send images. I'm like, okay. So I sent the mock-up images in and literally forgot about it until we just got that email last week.
Funny.
I mean, so that was pretty far back. I mean, months ago.
Hilarious. Because I was traveling and I just get a email forward from you, FYI. And I was like, what is this? And it's like, oh, here's attached
a silver medal.
A silver medal from the American, what's the American craft liquor? Craft spirits.
Craft spirits.
We should probably get it right.
I know. We should get that right.
Thanks for our medal. We don't know who you are.
I can't remember if it's the American Distilling Institute or the Craft Spirit Association.
Craft Spirits.
We'll correct
it in the show notes. Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. But also, like, hey, now award-winning Avenue 8, award-winning canned cocktail company, award-winning cocktail company founder. Like, that's legit now. So that's super exciting.
For sure.
Right. So it's fun. It's funny to like, I forget that those opportunities are there. So it was a good reminder to me and my team too, that like I think we do great work. I love the clients that we work with. And sometimes it is just taking that extra step to throw your hat in the ring to be like, okay, we're on to something here.
Yeah. Yeah. There are lots of, award opportunities in the spirit world, but it's usually for the liquid, not usually the packaging. So that's really exciting. And so I 100% think you should be looking for more opportunities for the packaging.
I mean, ditto. We'll have to attack it together. Exactly. So it's a good reminder too, to anyone listening who's like a founder or designer, like to put yourself into those rooms and throw your hat in the ring, because you never know what can happen. And then you get surprised. Exactly. It's so funny because I used to do this in college. I used to apply for scholarships and then forget and then get awarded the scholarship. And all of a sudden I'm at the luncheon and I was like, I don't even know what I wrote in my application.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a really long delay from when you typically have to submit this stuff. And then when they decide they're going to come back around and, sometimes as many as 4, 5, 6 months. And so I had honestly forgotten I had done it. So, yeah.
Well, the first of many. I feel that strongly, very strongly.
For sure.
Amazing. Well, where can everyone follow, buy, taste Avenue 8 cocktails? Obviously, the Instagram is a great place to check in.
Instagram is amazing. Yes, Avenue 8 cocktails. Come give us a follow. And then right now, we're direct to consumer, and it's shipping really quickly. It ships the day after you purchase. So,
okay. Well, great. I know what I'm doing after this. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. The last question I'll ask you, which is maybe just like a fun brain teaser, maybe you can impart some wisdom on everyone that's listening. What's something that you wish you could have told yourself when you started?
Oh, gosh, that's really good. Somebody asked me yesterday what words of wisdom I would give to girls or women looking to do their own thing. So I think I'll answer it with that because I think it sort of covers both. Don't wait to have it all lined up before you decide to go. Say yes to yourself first and figure it out afterwards. Because I had no idea what I was doing. And if I had waited until my type A self had it all lined out on a piece of paper and all the steps to follow and all the research, I'd still be researching,
Yes.
And I think it's really important. Bet on yourself and figure it out as you go.
Oh, I love ending on that. What a wonderful note. I got little goosebumps. That was lovely. Well, thank you so much, Tiffany. And thanks everyone for listening. Don't forget to check out Avenue 8 Cocktails. Lovely. And we'll have you back the next time once we have the mocktails launched and people can get those as well.
Perfect.
Yay.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, everybody. And we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.